Hey Spuds, it's Jamie, welcome back to another video. If I've been on the channel, I don't know, but welcome either way. And today we are looking at something a little bit interesting. We're looking at a TV show, yay, that started doing the rounds again recently. It's very interesting. We're having a look at a TV episode that was aired on TLC. I believe this is an American thing. I don't know what it is, but it was aired back in 2015 and it's called My Husband's Not Gay. Yes. The episode followed several couples plus a single guy where the men are attracted to other men, but they are married to women and want to live like a heterosexual lifestyle because of their Mormon faith. Clips from the show recently resurfaced, I believe, on TikTok and went a little bit viral for obvious reasons. A series of clips of old reality show My Husband's Not Gay about same-sex attracted Mormon guys married to women have gone viral on TikTok, with people asking, how the hell did this ever get commissioned? That is a good question. Yeah. Even 10 years ago, how the hell did that get commissioned? Because it seems to be like promoting
suppress your true self because religion.
It's not really a great message, in my opinion. The men in the show seem to describe themselves as being same-sex attracted, shortened to SSA, rather than being gay. They don't seem to identify as gay. They say they are same-sex attracted or SSA, but they pursue marrying women. The hour-long special that aired on TLC in early 2015 followed the lives of 4 Mormon men living in Salt Lake City who all openly speak about their experiences with same-sex attraction, aka SSA, and yet would all tell you they were straight. In fact, they were all either actively married to or actively pursuing relationships with women. Fascinating. So the desire for a heterosexual marriage and lifestyle and not identifying as gay comes from the fact that they're part of the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints, and they want to live life correctly according to their Mormon faith. It's very, very odd. Maybe odd's the wrong word. It's just very uncomfortable to hear about people actively admitting how they truly feel and likely being aware of the kind of life they could be living that would very, very likely almost certainly make them feel more like the most fulfilled and happiest with their lives, yet they are not doing that due to religion. It's not solid enough. Like, I know it must be very, very tricky if you've been brought up in a church to question that, to break away from that. So I'm speaking about this as somebody who was never raised religious, never attended church, and all of that stuff. There's so many things that these very, very old books and religions want you to believe and how they want you to live your life that just seem very bizarre, and a lot of them don't fit with modern day life. And not everyone who's religious and would say like, oh, being gay is wrong, but would then go and do something else that is technically forbidden in their religion. And I know that Mormonism is a newer religion. It first came about in the early 1800s because of someone called Joseph Smith. But like in my head, that just feels like some guy who's taken other religious things, interpreted in the way that he thinks you should live your life and according to his individual moral compass, and gone, haha, a religion. This is how people should live. And now there is a lot of people living their life according to that book and those interpretations, completely like restricting themselves on a life that might make them happier and feel more fulfilled. But then again, maybe it makes them feel happy and more fulfilled to live an extremely religious life. And I just struggle to understand that because I'm not religious. I still do not agree with the message being pushed. If individual people want to do that because they prioritize their faith over everything else, that's what they're doing. But I very strongly disagree with religion being pushed, with religion pushing certain ideals and standards of living other than just being a good person, like, and being nice to other people. I just don't understand this whole like you can't be gay in religion. It just feels like a homophobe popped that in at some point. Anyway, the Mormon church makes a distinction between same-sex attraction and same-sex behavior, the latter being the one that is sinful. So having same-sex attraction in of itself is not sinful, but acting on that attraction is, according to the church. For the men in the show, having those feelings of being attracted to other men is not sinful, but if they were to act on it, that's when it would be. So they still need to marry women and not engage in any kind of romantic, relationshipy, intimacy, anything with another man. So apparently the church welcomes people who are same-sex attracted and promotes treating them with kindness and respect, as long as they totally repress those feelings and never act on them. Right. The church distinguishes between same-sex attraction and homosexual behaviour. People who experience same-sex attraction or identify as gay, lesbian, or bisexual can make and keep covenants with God and fully and worthily participate in the church. Identifying as gay, lesbian, or bisexual or experiencing same-sex attraction is not a sin and does not prohibit one from participating in the church, holding callings, or attending the temple. Sexual purity is an essential part of God's plan for our happiness. Sexual relations are reserved for a man and woman who are married and promise complete loyalty to each other. Sexual relations between a man and woman who are not married or between people of the same sex violate one of our Father in Heaven's most important laws and get in the way of our eternal progress. People of any sexual orientation who violate the law of chastity can be reconciled with God through repentance. As followers of Christ, we resist immoral behavior and strive to become like him. Oh, what happened to my voice? Him. We seek the guidance of the Holy Spirit and the help of the Saviour, who knows how to support us when we are tempted. If we give in to sexual temptations and violate the law of chastity, we can repent, be forgiven, and participate in full fellowship in the church. I am just very against anything, organised or not, that is like, you have to live in this way or else. If you are being respectful and kind to other people and not hurting others, and this is where there is a difference between like,
oh, well, you want to be a trans person in this world, but you don't let people be anti-trans.
There's a difference. Being trans doesn't hurt anybody. Being anti-trans definitely does. So as long as you are not causing harm to other people and you are living your life in a nice, respectful way, and you're being kind to people and all of these things, I don't know why you would be expected to do anything else. If there is a being in the sky that is all loving and all seeing and all forgiving, why would they care if someone was gay? It really does not make sense. It makes much more sense that religion started off as a way to live our lives as good people and a way to explain things that we could not yet explain, and then grew and was translated many times. Like, religion is so old. It started such a long time ago, and it's been translated to so many different languages and rewritten by so many different people to fit their narratives of life and their moral viewpoints. I just personally don't see it as something that we can see beyond. Like, you can have a belief in God if that's what you believe in, and live your life as a nice person and go to church and or other religious buildings if that's something that you want to do. But to go to the point where it's like, I cannot do this, I cannot do that, I cannot be gay, I cannot act in this way, I must do this, I must do that, just feels very odd. And there's no way of telling if that was just written in by Barbara 300 years ago, or if that is actually a genuine part of the religion. And then an interesting point about the Mormon church that I was surprised by is their stance on conversion therapy. So the stance that I could find is that church publications now state that individuals do not choose to have such attractions. The church opposes conversion therapy. Its church-run therapy services no longer provide sexual orientation change efforts, and the church has no official stance on the causes of homosexuality. I mean, that is a small positive, yay, but a very small positive though, because I think it comes with the caveat of like, okay, so they're not forcibly trying to change people's attraction, and they're not blaming or punishing people for having those attractions. They're understanding that they are not a choice, I'm gathering from this, because, you know, being gay is definitely not a choice, but they're still making people believe that they're wrong if they were to live in a way that is who they are. So if there is a gay man in the church, they're like, oh, you're not wrong for feeling those feelings, but you would be wrong for acting on them, so you have to live your life as a straight man even though you're gay. Like, it's very bizarre. It's like, oh, you have to suppress and cover up this thing about you that is perfectly fine, by the way, and not your choice, but you can't live like that. No. I don't know how I feel about this comment about like conversion therapy. I think it's great that they're not like pulling people into the church and putting them through active conversion therapy. Obviously, we must not do that. It does not work, and it is very harmful for people's well-being. At the same time, they are enforcing certain restrictions on people's lives, and like, whilst they're not trying to convert their feelings in their head, they are in a way converting them to a certain lifestyle, if that makes sense. So it's like, oh, we're not gonna like try and change your feelings, but you're not allowed to live openly as yourself or even live as yourself at all. You have to fully repress that part of you, which is just really shit, to be honest. If people do enter into a homosexual relationship or marriage, this can lead to disciplinary action, including restrictions from church activity and loss of membership to the church. So it all feels really odd, in my opinion. Like, there seems to be some level of acceptance from the church, which seems to be better than where it used to be, but it's kind of like, no, you shall not be allowed to live as your true self, but we love you, mwah. Like, oh, and if you do ever stop repressing your true feelings and live life in the way that you're kind of like naturally destined to, you know, if you're a gay man and we force you to marry a woman and then you want to be with a man, then yeah, we'll just kick you out and cut you off from your entire community that you've known your entire life. But we love you, we're good. To me, it feels like a kind of circumnavigating of the pushback against religion in terms of like, oh, well, like you're saying God made everybody. So God made people gay. So why does he not accept people being gay? So they've just gone, oh, no, that bit's fine. Like, yeah, okay, fine. Like maybe he made you gay. That's fine to feel, but you just can't act on it. That's God's test, you know? It really gives me the vibe of those people who are like, yeah, I'm fine with gay people. I just don't want to see them holding hands or be friends with them or have them in my life or in my house in any way, shape or form. But
I'm absolutely fine with gay people. I'm not homophobic. Just don't bring it near me.
That's very much the vibe. Like, simultaneously saying like the church accepts you, but you have to repress who you are, feels contradictory. But it's better than some religions. This is what they're saying. It could all be lip service, and there's actually much more bullshit going on underneath the surface. Because even in its most positive light, it's really nowhere near where it should be. So we're going to watch a few clips in a minute, and the last thing I wanted to say before we do that, I will stop waffling very soon, is I'm hearing the concept that for these guys, this is a choice that they feel like they're making. So they're acknowledging that they're attracted to other men, but they are choosing to marry women in order to live according to their faith and remain in a church that they've been part of for their whole lives, I think, for many of them. But I do question how much of it is actually free choice then. Like, how much free will has gone into this, how much choice has gone into this, when it's likely been drilled into these guys their entire lives. You can feel this way, but you cannot act in this way, and these bad things will happen if you act in this way. Do you want bad things to happen? I feel like it must be such a horrifically difficult situation to be in, to have, like, on one hand, like, okay, I'm gay, I could go and live my life in that way and be my true self and, you know, like, not suppress this part of me, because it's not good for people to suppress that part of them. Like, it just isn't. There's studies, it's not good for your mental health. So you could do that, but if I do that, I get fully rejected by basically the only way of life I've ever known, and potentially fully rejected by my entire community and network of family and friends. And that's a big loss to deal with. And then also the fear of God as well. Like,
oh my gosh, I'm doing something against God and I will be punished for that.
so I can see, like, of course it's going to take a huge amount of, I don't even know what, like, courage and strength. And I'm not saying that people who don't do it are cowardly or weak or anything like that, not at all. But I think to walk away and turn your back on everything you've known your whole life and all the people you've known your whole life is a really, really terrifying thing to do that not everybody will do. There's going to be a lot of people who are like, no, it's probably easier for me to stay in my community and just forget about this bit of me and who I am. It feels like a very, very complicated and incredibly daunting situation to be in, where the choice feels more fear-driven rather than free will, actually, this is what I want to do kind of choice. But each to their own. If this is the way these guys feel they have chosen to live their lives and what they want to do, I can feel like, oh, it feels a little bit sad to not live as yourself and to repress that. But what I really, really disagree with is trying to preach that that is the right way to be living. If they feel it's right for them and they value their religion above anything else, then that's them. But I really disagree with it being forced or encouraged upon other people, or like commented about other people being like, oh, well, I could live as not gay. And I feel like it's used as like this card of like, oh, look, these guys can choose to not live as gay men. They choose to live a heterosexual life.
You can too.
Any gay person could do this. And it's like, there is a cost. So unsurprisingly, the show did receive quite a lot of criticism and pushback, including, even for the network that used to be known as the Learning Channel, oh, TLC, the Learning Channel, that makes so much sense. This was a new low. The controversial special was met with pushback from the community. GLAAD released a statement calling it dangerous in its depiction of sexuality as a choice, while a change.org petition suggesting TLC cancel the show received over 100,000 signatures. So I think it's just a very dangerous message to push. I wouldn't be surprised if like these guys were cherry picked as examples of like, we'll find men who've been married for a little while, maybe some of them have kids, and look at how successful and happy you can be. You don't need to be gay. Look at these men. They have dealt with their same-sex attraction. Anyway, are you ready to watch some clips from the show? The only place I could find the full episode was on an American site and you had to pay for it, and I was like, I don't know if I'm then going to be able to use it. So I thought we could just watch some clips instead and you still get a pretty good idea of what's going on. Are you ready? That's quite the interesting title scene. My husband's gay. Not gay. I meant not gay. I mean, you can say that, but if your husband is exclusively attracted to men, he is gay. He's just not living as such. Still gay. Oh, a bakery. Fruit preserves.
Jeff and I are meeting Brett and Megan for an early dinner tonight. And whenever we get together, you never know where those conversations may go.
I want to hear your French pronunciation on the menu.
Brother.
I'll critique you.
I'm not doing that.
Do you know what
Tuna
you
melt.
want?
Gruyere.
Very good.
Thank you.
The tuna niçoise.
Niçoise?
Niçoise.
Is this
course.
just French in a bakery?
Hello. Welcome to Boulangerie. Thank you. Don't laugh. It's not that funny.
Yes, it is.
Can I get you all an appetizer to start?
You know, your hummus looked good. Your hummus plate.
It's excellent.
great.
Why am I seeing everything as an innuendo? I'm just like, what is going on here? Why have they chosen this as a trailer?
So did you guys notice anything?
He's a very good-looking guy. We have a very open relationship.
Of course. So do you think they asked them to do that? Do you think they were like, hey, could you push and see if your husband was like attracted to this waiter guy? Yeah, ask him.
We have a very open relationship. And this is just one more way we try to be open.
I'm assuming he doesn't mean open in the sense of like an open relationship. I'm assuming he means like open communication, honesty, yes. Or maybe not, but that doesn't seem very Mormon.
But I found it's more freeing to just acknowledge, yeah, that is a beautiful man.
The most freeing thing would be to be like, that is a beautiful man. I would like to pursue dating a beautiful man.
I'd say you need a little more of the masculine butch. You need more of the all-American guy.
That's your type.
Well, yeah, sure.
That's really interesting. So at the end, it was just so openly like, yeah, that was an attractive man, and that other guy. I'm pretty sure those are two of the couples from the show, which would make a lot of sense. And those two guys are gay. Well, not gay, they are same-sex attracted. I find that a really interesting concept, and I wonder like how deep the cognitive dissonance goes to be able to have a conversation with your husband about the fact that he finds men attractive. Obviously, bisexual people exist. I am under the impression that that's not what's going on here, and these guys are fully attracted to men, as far as I'm aware. But we can just go on that basis for now as like a hypothetical. Maybe one or more of the guys in these couples is bisexual, in which case totally fine, although still then being forced to be like, no, it has to be a woman that you end up with. You have to remain celibate until you're with a woman. You cannot be with a man in any way, shape or form, still repressing a part of your identity and your attraction, and probably something a lot of people would want to fulfill. But the concept of like having a very open conversation with your husband who is exclusively attracted to men, and like him talking about the type he's attracted to, and like just being openly like, oh yeah, he's hot. I wonder how that feels for both people in the relationship. Like they're both in a situation where they've been forced by the church to believe that this is just what you do. And then I wonder if there's any stigma, like how open they are with other couples where both are just straight about what's going on, and if there's any stigma on either of them for the situation. Like, is there stigma on the guy for being gay? Is there stigma on the woman for marrying a guy who's attracted to men? Like, I wonder how they're treated within the community and the church overall. That came across more like lunch between four best friends, like two women and their gay BFFs, where they're like chatting about the men they find attractive. Next video, got the same little not gay intro.
I don't feel like I fit the mold of guys that are attracted to other men, other than my deep and abiding love for Broadway show tunes.
That's really interesting, because like that's bringing up a bit of conversation around like LGBTQ plus culture and stereotypes as well that he seems quite well aware of.
And the attraction to males. Those are the two things that are kind of gay about me.
The things that are gay about me, Broadway show tunes, and I'm attracted to men. Definitely one of those is quite gay. But he seems to be like referring to himself as gay.
When I'm out with the guys, yeah, we'll look at other guys, for sure. What's the danger score? The danger scale is a way to bring out some of the inner feelings and figure out, oh, okay, that is attractive to me, and I didn't even realize it.
Oh. So it's called a danger score. So like most people, I feel like that would just typically be a rate how attractive you find this person on a scale of 1 to 10 or whatever. But they call it a danger score. That's what happens when you repress your feelings.
The danger scale goes from 0 to 4. A 1 on the danger scale is you notice, you look.
A 2 means you looked again.
A 3, you'd be tempted to turn around and look again and again.
A 4 pretty much means you're requiring restraints.
Requiring respect. That's really interesting language. So like it's a danger scale rather than like attractiveness scale. And if you are at the top of that danger scale, requiring restraints. Again, this is what happens when you repress your true feelings. They come out in ways like this that cannot feel great, where they're fully acknowledging the attraction they have towards men. And they are going and they're playing basketball and they are checking these guys out. Fine, go. Then to be like, oh, no, but like if I find them really attractive, that's actually super dangerous for me because like I'm having to repress so hard. Like you just wouldn't know what to do with those feelings, right? I'm obviously not insinuating they're going to do anything bad. I just mean like that internal feeling of like, well, I'm acknowledging that I find this person incredibly attractive, and if I could pursue them, I would, but I can't. Oh, it's just so uncomfortable when I can't help but feel bad for these guys. Like, it feels like they've been brainwashed into thinking that this is a way of life they can never have and that they shouldn't have. And they're like, yes, I can find him attractive, but I can't act on that. And so we call it a danger scale because it's a bad thing. And I'm like, oh, no.
Really? I'd go higher than that.
That's some danger.
That's why the basketball's been fun.
That's why the basketball's been fun. So they clearly enjoy it. This is their outlet for those feelings. It's such a limited outlet, but there is clear enjoyment being going on. Like, that's why I like playing basketball, because I get to check out guys and not feel bad about it.
Some water?
Thank you.
Being friends with other guys that deal with same-sex attraction, it's really been helpful.
Somebody cares about you, Tom.
They're kind of in a place that I want to be. I want to meet a girl and like her and say, by the way, I'm attracted to guys. And that's what my friends have done, and they've made it work.
And this is the problem, like by advertising and showcasing where this has happened, you're just making other people feel like, oh no, this is the right way to live. This will make you feel fulfilled and happy. I feel like there must be such a desperation for it to look like it's worked and that everything's okay and that you can be a gay man married to a woman and have a successful and happy and loving marriage. And I'm sure that these couples to some extent do love each other. Whether that's the same kind of love you would have if you were in the relationship with someone that you're actually attracted to is a different story. There's loving and caring for and then being in love with and wanting to be with in a romantic and like intimate way. I just can't help but feel that there must be this need to show that this has worked. We as outsiders to this would never understand what the marriage is actually like behind closed doors. I'm remaining kind of neutral. I don't want to take on board any of these like positives of like, they made it work. Oh, it's great. Yeah, we love each other. Yeah, we've had children, which I mean, well, there's actually evidence that children are in existence, so clearly. But I'm like, I just can't trust that there is genuine happiness here, but I'm also not going to sit here and say that there isn't some form of happiness found on some level. But it just, if they're going out to like play basketball to get an outlet for their attraction, they're just so aware of it. I just want people to be able to live as their authentic selves. I think it's so important. It's so important to our well-being and our life fulfillment, and everybody deserves to feel like they can live as themselves and there's nothing wrong with who they are, and that it's not sinful to be gay and to act on those feelings of being gay at all. Like, it's okay to do it. And I'm just like, I feel frustrated that these people have been made to believe that the way they feel, they would be wrong to act on it. I think this is the advert.
We do love each other very much. We are best friends.
I wouldn't change anything about him.
Your husband is gay, but you wouldn't change anything about... I mean, that's kind of sweet that she's like, I wouldn't change it. But surely there would be a preference to be married to somebody who found you attractive.
No marriage that is perfect. Ours isn't. But with our faith in God, we believe we can overcome anything.
I like to say I've chosen an alternative to an alternative lifestyle.
I'm attracted to my wife, for sure. And
Okay.
I'm definitely attracted to men, too.
Oh, that's where it like, oh, this is a bit different. See, maybe he is bisexual. Yeah.
He's a good-looking guy, for sure.
Well, I'm interested in men, I'm just not interested in men.
That's clear.
What?
So are they gay or not? I get a little defensive when somebody calls my husband gay.
That feels like a you problem, because if your husband is only attracted to men, then your husband is gay. That is the term for it. And I feel like that defensiveness of, oh, don't call my husband gay, it almost feels like a lack of acceptance for the setup of the marriage. I don't know.
The whole act is against the teachings of the gospel.
I don't think people understand this.
You're attracted to men, but you're going on a date with a girl.
I want to marry a woman, but I don't know how to work out these feelings. I don't know how to tell you this, but I'm attracted to men.
Wow. That was very interesting. So those are all the clips. And I'm like, look, if you feel like you're living a happy life and this is what you want to do, actually want to do, sure. It feels like you're living for somebody or something else. And I'm like, I think it's just really shitty that at some point people have decided throughout history, this is the way to live. And I'm going to fear people into living in this way. And this isn't me generally having a go at people who are religious. I fully respect those beliefs. I don't share them, but I respect them. As long as it's not used to repress or suppress or be prejudiced or discriminate or just be generally arseholey towards other people, whether they're within or outside of that religion. And I think telling people, sure, you can feel that attraction to men, but don't act on it. No, you must marry a woman. It's just force-feeding people lies and making them feel desperately like they have to live their life in this particular way. And I just think in the long run, that's not great. No. So I found like a little Reddit about it, and I wanted to read some of the comments. So somebody said, TLC's, my husband's not gay. Actually, he is, but he has been brainwashed. He believes that God wants him to marry an equally desperate woman so that they can make it to heaven. This is so sad. I hate seeing people I know who are gay try to apply a formula that was created by a charlatan. The LDS Church needs to be held accountable for the many lives they have stolen. I cannot disagree. I was married to a woman for 10 years. I truly loved her as much as I was able to. I believe the church telling me I wasn't gay but had a sexual problem. What I know now, which helps me to know the church was completely wrong, is being in love with a man is very different than loving a woman. With my ex, it was a role that I played. Being in love with a man amplifies all my emotions. Instead of following a script, it is like an instinctual compelling. I don't feel the urge to push away, but to have him be close and with me. It feels comfortable, it feels normal, it feels easy, even though with the real emotions it can be so much more difficult when your very essence can be affected by the ones you love. That is very profound and really interesting to hear from somebody who's been in the situation that these guys were in but is no longer, and is like, it's just much better. It's very different, and I can see the difference. Yes, there is a difference between loving and caring for somebody and being in love with someone and finding them attractive. I found another post on Reddit. It's quite old, it's 6 years ago, but I guess that's still 4 years after the TV show was made. So somebody said, my husband's not gay TV show. I was wondering whatever happened to the guys or their wives on that show. Have they ever popped up on this subreddit? I was in the same missions as one of them. So somebody replied going, I know one of them and I'm acquainted with another. I haven't been updated recently, but the one I know has been very active in the leadership of North Star, the LDS-friendly same-sex attraction support group. Wow, so there's like an entire support group, damn. I think he's still a member of that group and is still married to his wife, given that I think he's still all in. The other is no longer as tightly connected to North Star and had admitted in court that he occasionally slips up. I don't think that has changed. When they say in court, do they mean like Mormon church court or court of law? There is this hellish purgatory for these guys where they want to be worthy but can't help themselves and continue to go back and forth between church discipline or hiding it and repenting and being good. It's the most shame-filled and awful existence. I was in it for about 12 years. But if they're still occasionally slipping up, there's no real reason to leave the church. For me, I didn't even open myself up to the possibility of going down the rabbit hole until after TSCC kicked me out. Only then did I realize I'd been lied to. I suspect that's a pretty common story. Also, I waited for my kids to be adults basically before leaving a toxic marriage. Wow. It's awful for both spouses. I was in it for almost 14 years. Unfortunately, my SSA spouse, former spouse now, is still very much TBM. I don't know what that means. Damn. I think it's really telling to hear from people who've gotten out of it and how they view it. I, as someone who isn't religious, do not want to be overly harsh to the lives different people live. Other than commenting, I don't think this seems very nice or comfortable or the happiest, most fulfilled life you can have. But hearing other people's accounts where they are literally like calling out brainwashing and that it's a horrible existence and it's just very not fun, I'm gonna let that do the talking for just like, it's not something people should ever have to or feel like they have to repress about themselves, like being gay. And it's also not something that they should be rejected from their community for. And it's really sad that that is still happening so rampantly within a lot of these religious communities. I just think it ends up creating like toxicity for a lot of people and discomfort and resentment, and it's just not nice. Another comment says, this is really sad. If you look at most of the comments they make, they always state that their church/faith is first before they say anything else. The other sad thing is that I know the red-headed woman Tanya. I grew up in the same town as her. I knew her and her family fairly well. I was utterly shocked when I recognized her when I watched the preview clip. I feel sad for her because it sounds like in all these couples' minds that their actual relationship is secondary to their faith and church, which seems like an awful marriage to be in. Yeah. What I find most uncomfortable is the whole sense of like, God loves you, the church loves you, we embrace you, we'll look after you.
Unless you are this, this, and this, and do this.
It's just like, of course, if people are breaking the law and hurting other people and killing people and doing all this stuff, yeah, sure. But people are gay? Really? That's what they have a big problem about? I do not understand it. This is honestly just coming from the mind of one homophobe who decided this is how the book should be interpreted. That, like, this was written in the 1820s, you know, the Book of Mormon. Just some dude. Like, come on. Just one guy's opinion. And people are dedicating their entire lives to it and putting nothing ahead of this faith and this church. That is a shocking amount of trust and personally incredibly misplaced. Let me know what you think. Yeah, my overarching feeling is just feeling a bit sad. Like, I'm sure they don't want pity and sympathy, but I just feel quite sad at the level of repression that these guys are putting themselves through. I just couldn't imagine living that way personally. But yeah, if you like the video, think about giving a thumbs up and subscribing if you want to. I have also now set up a Patreon, which you are welcome to go check out. Any support on there is super appreciated. It really helps me continue creating content, and I really want to expand my content creation. So if you want to go check that out, you can, but absolutely no pressure. And yeah, as always, I'll see you next time. Much love. Bye.